live streaming platforms. This is meeting number 194 of the 9th of April 2025, which is scheduled to commence at 9 until 12. It's a virtual meeting held via Microsoft Teams. It is for the Petroleum Pipelines Subcommittee of the National Energy Regulator of South Africa. Briefly, we just say PPS, we call it the PPS committee. I would like now to take this opportunity to introduce the members that are present with us today, starting off with the Deputy Chairperson of the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, and a member of this subcommittee, as well as other committees of the Energy Regulator, Madam Zandile Mpungose.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members. And I'd like to send greetings to members of the public who are streaming, who are following this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. I would like to proceed then to go to the Chief Executive Officer of NERSA, Advocate Nomalanga Sithole, who is a member of this committee as well as other committees and subcommittees of the Energy Regulator. Madam CEO.
Good morning, Chairperson, members, and everyone who has joined us for this meeting this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Sithole. I would like to then to proceed to Mr. Fungais Banda, who is the chairperson of the ITGC, a part-time regulator member of the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, and a member of this subcommittee as well as other committees and subcommittees of the Energy Regulator. Mr. Banda.
Morning, Chair, NERSA colleagues, and members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, I've got Madam Nomfundo Maseti, who is the full-time regulator member, primarily responsible for pipe gas, but also currently assisting as the acting member, primarily responsible for electricity regulation. She is chairing the respective subcommittees and is also a member of this subcommittee as well as other committees of the Energy Regulator. Madam Maseti.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members, and good morning to the members of the public following today's proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed with this meeting, being ably assisted by the Secretary of this committee, Madam Patience Maswanganyi. We'll then proceed, members, by first adopting the agenda of this meeting. As presented, there are 6 substantive matters that we are going to be discussing in the open meeting. By show of hands, members, if you do support the adoption of this agenda as presented. Thank you, Madam Maseti, Advocate Sithole, Madam Mpungose, Mr. Banda. I also support the adoption. This agenda is then adopted as such. We'll then proceed to the declaration of interest. By show of hands, members, if you've got any interest to declare. I don't see any end. I then would like to request all of you members as well as management and staff to please fill the declaration of interest forms and submit them to the Secretary by way of sharing them on Convene. We'll then proceed, members, to the first item that we are going to be discussing, which is the Sasol Oil Pty Ltd and Total Energies Marketing South Africa Pty Ltd application for the third amendment of conditions of the combined license issued to it for the operation of its petroleum facilities in Prospecting and Island View in the KwaZulu-Natal province. Over to you, Madam Tua, the Executive Manager, who's leading the whole team from the Petroleum Pipelines Regulation Division. Over to you and your team. Please don't go beyond 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. Good morning, colleagues and members of the public. As the submission has been read out, it is the third amendment, and we'll have Ms. Mahamata to take us through this item and the next two items. Without wasting time, Ms. Mahamata, please just highlight the salient features to assist the members to make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity, and good morning to the members and the colleagues online. Chair, we do take the item as read and as introduced. This is an amendment application for Sasol Oil and Total Energies, which are jointly operating as NATCOs. The basis for the removal of the crude oil-related infrastructure in the amendment is due to Total Energies selling its shares in the Natref refinery to Prague, South Africa, and this transaction included the assets in the crude oil supply chain contained within this license that's under discussion, but does exclude the infrastructure that's associated with the refined fuels within the same license. These crude oil assets that are being removed from the license have concurrently been applied for a new license by the new owners, which will now be Sasol Oil and Prags. And that application is the next item for discussion in today's agenda as well. Chair, on page 19, figure 3, we've sort of put an illustration of the effect of the disposal of these crude oil assets. And these crude oil assets that we're referring to include storage tanks amounting to just over 550,000 cubic meters, which are located at the Prospecton and Finland sites 2 in Island View. And there's also some pipelines connecting the various NATCO's group of facilities as well. In the analysis of the application, the key issues we considered was firstly the rationale on why we undertook an amendment process rather than a revocation, since there's still a transfer in ownership of the assets, and that is covered from paragraph 17 to 21. But in short, Chair, the key difference really is that not all the tanks are being removed from the license, but had that been the case, then it would have amounted to a removal of a license activity, which would ultimately have affected the rest of the license, and then a revocation or termination of the actual whole license would have been applicable, which was not the case herein, and hence an amendment was triggered. The second key issue considered was the economic and competition impact. And here we relied firstly on the approval by the Competition Tribunal, including our own records of the volume throughput over the years. And then based on our analysis, our views were that the removal of these crude assets from this license is unlikely to change the market structure, nor pose any significant competition constraint on existing players. Economically, we anticipate that similar volumes of product would still be handled despite the change in the ownership, but that as the sector regulator, we should closely monitor the stability of the crude oil volumes post this transaction. The third and last key issue we considered was in terms of the environmental liability. So even though this was not a revocation or an abandonment of the licensed activities, we did reflect on the environmental aspect. And here we relied on the sale and purchase agreement to determine the extent to which Total, as the exiting party, may be held liable in the future. And Chair, without touching on some of the confidential information, on a high level, we found that based on the agreement, the duties of each party in the event of an environmental, a health, or a safety liability were sufficiently outlined in that contract. And over and above that, we also were cognizant of the fact that these facilities have not had any third parties historically within which to recover funds from the tariff. However, a financial instrument from Total for all its licensed facilities has been approved by NESA for any land rehabilitation provision. And for Sasol Oil, we were informed that an instrument is currently in the final stages of approval to satisfy this requirement as well. Before I conclude, Chair, I just want to highlight that we did note some of the alignment issues and labeling on the figures, And we just wanted to give the members comfort that in the parallel submission circulating to ER, these errors have been duly fixed. With that, Chair, may I move towards the recommendation, which is outlined in paragraph 14.1 and is for the PPS to recommend to the energy regulator to approve this third amendment of license conditions, the reasons for decision document attached herein, including the addendum to the license conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Mahamata. I note that the issues of rehabilitation, they've always been challenges, but you are working towards them, and that is appreciated. We just want you to put more energy and vigor into that. Members, the presentation has been made. I would like to know if there are any questions, comments, or guidance that you would like to provide to the team. By show of hands, please. For Madam Maseti. Madam Maseti, and then Mr. Sbanda will follow.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I would like to start on, what page is this? Page 4 of the green over-stamped pages. Starting on that table that we have there showing the changes and the amendments, and also paragraph 4.3. It was not, okay, let me start off with the Transnet part. As we know that there's prax that is involved here in terms of the sale of shares, or I don't know how much are the shares, but I think we should have just got that information to see if there was that triggered change of control, and also taking over the activities as a going concern in this joint venture, so that we can just understand whether they just took over the shares, exact shares of Total Energies, just so that we can understand whether that has any change in control or what exactly is the issue, just so that we understand from our side. But apart from that, the issue of Transnet here, I do not understand the relationship or how this transaction works in this case, since what is explained here is prax as well as Total Energies in terms of the sale of shares as a going concern, and also this activity as a going concern, if I may coin it that way. But when it comes to Transnet, what was happening with this, is it a storage tank that is given to Transnet, or what exactly is just the crude oil tank? Is it just one tank, or what is going on? And how does it feature in this whole transaction that we are talking about? If that can be clarified. Then coming to the scope of what exactly is happening. I'm asking this because of what is contained in paragraph 4.3 as well as paragraph 4.4. If you look at paragraph 4.3, it is stated in line 1 to 3 that the license conditions by removing the crude oil assets. Then in brackets, the crude oil assets that are being referred to, it states that it is pipelines as well as storage tanks. However, if you look at the table, the crude oil tank there that is mentioned is just one, which is going to Transnet. And again, for purposes of our decision that is sought today, we know that some of these assets are to be transferred to, or taken over by prax. So I wanted to understand that part of the crude oil assets that we are talking about. Is it pipelines as well as storage tanks that are being removed? That can be clarified, because it's only the table mentions only one tank, and that is going to Transnet. That is the first thing, and then you can read that with paragraph 4.4. And the second thing that I wanted to understand is the impact of the assets that are being removed. Right now, I don't know the scope of the assets that are being removed and what is being removed. So I just want to check also just the impact of the removal of these assets on the RAB that we are going to now look at, because I think it is also important to look at the financial impact of this transaction, of this change, so that nothing is going to be overstated and therefore goes into the cost that third parties or customers are going to pay. So that is very critical, because this is the first point that we have in order to scrutinize this. Once now the assets have already been bought and some have been removed. So this is the time that we have to make that assessment, especially because there's also a second category of amendment, the one that mentions 2 newly constructed refined product pipelines. So I don't know the value of that, and therefore I do not know how that is going to impact on the RAB. Can that be clarified as well, so that we can have a better understanding of the impact of this transaction and the changes as we are required to take a decision? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sibanda, over to you, sir. Then I'll go to Madam Pungos.
Chairperson, I'm covered. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sibanda. Over to you, Madam Pungos.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm covered to a large extent by Madam Masetti. I think what I wanted to find out with regard to the sale of the crude assets, you know, I understand that they are the ones that are enumerated in 4.4, the ones that are being removed, you know, from the license currently, because they've been transferred through the sale. So, and I also wanted to find out, so I'm covered partly by Madam Masetti with regard to that, so I'll get the answer when it's been addressed. And also what I wanted to find out is with regard to the adverts that were published, does Mercury also cover the area that is Kimberley and Bloemfontein, you know, in terms of reach? Do they reach the correct people? Thank you. That's the Mercury newspaper. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. You left then to respond, Madam Mahamata, but prior to your response, as I had guided that when it comes to table 2, to say NATCO's previous amendment details. These are the previous amendments, which is Amendment 1 and Amendment 2. Now we're dealing with Amendment 3. And it is important to also note that there are these crude assets and finished product asset. So it is a separation of the crude asset part because of the new owner that has come in terms of the crude, taking the stake that is for Total Energies. But Total Energies will still continues with the finished product part, hence still being working with Sasol in that regard. And on the other hand, the new player takes all over the crude side. So it's more of a separation of these two. And in terms of the asset base, if you look at paragraph 3.1, it outlines the RAB, that asset base, which is based on the combined crude and finished product assets. When you separate them, then the finished product part will then be below for example, the threshold for use, for example, for the PPS to then take a decision going forward, which shows just the separation of these. I won't go to the details as they are confidential in terms of the exact numbers, but if you go to 3.1, it's clearly outlined there. So please, if you can make that amendment or enhancement on table 2 in terms of just putting as I try to guide. Madam Mtua in the team, if you may please respond then.
Thank you, Chair. I think you have mostly covered the response in terms of indicating that the table has nothing to do with this current request of consideration that we are doing. We are just outlining what has happened before in the previous amendment, as we do indicate this is the third one. So the Amendment 1 and Amendment 2 is just the history that has happened in this license. And I think you've also covered the issues of the RAB. And in terms of the Mercury is mainly a KZN publication, as the facility that's being considered is in Prospecting and Allen View around a KZN. So the newspaper that was used, and I think there's other newspapers that were used as well, but the Mercury specifically covers the KZN. I see Mr. Untit has his hand up to also maybe add on that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Briefly,
Chair.
please.
Good morning, members and members of the public. Just to add on to what Ms. Mtwa said, the requirement in the Act, in Section 16 of the Act, is that the publications must be done in the area where the activity is taking place. Therefore, a national paper was used in English, and then in which is the first requirement, and then a second one in the area that also circulating that. Back to, we note the comments on enhancements on table 2. Apologies for confusing the members with that, but that was his history. And then maybe just to elaborate, tank F101 that's listed there was taken back by Transnet to incorporate into TM1 for the NMPP project. So that tank was taken back, it was demolished, and it became part of TM1. So that's historically. And then in terms of the other question, the new refined pipelines, that was constructed by Sasol only. And that was then incorporated into a previous amendment done of the operation license. So those assets, again, it's historic in that table, and it has been incorporated. Amendment 3 on the table, the question about the shares, the shares taken over by Prax is exactly the shares that Total held, which is a third in terms of the Natref venture, but it also then extends to the crude feeding facilities, which is on consideration here. The competition tribunal did publish its decision approving this as a large merger. And in terms of that this decision and reasons for decision is available on their website. So yeah, they took over completely the total assets. I think I've covered then that. In terms of paragraph 4.3 and 4.4, if I understood correctly, the third-party access, there will be third-party access, and it's part of the license conditions. However, historically, no other parties has got access to the facilities via the SPM, but the provision is there, and the parties in such event will then have to comply with third-party access. I think Mr. Sibanda was covered by by the other questions. And then I'm not sure in terms of then the removal of the crude, whether that is clear or I need to enhance on that. But effectively, everything from the SPM, which is a separate licensed activity, the storage of the crude in Durban in those tanks, the pipelines feeding from there to the Transnet injection manifold. There is a figure, the figure is listed there. Let me just say it's figure 2, then is owned by Sasol and Prax now after the transaction. So it's in addition to the Transnet pipeline system, all these assets to enable the product to be injected then into the pipeline. From there, it goes with the pipeline. I hope I've covered or responded adequately, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Untit. Members, are you covered in terms of the responses? I don't see any further follow-ups. I would then like to go to the recommendation. The recommendation states thus: it is recommended that the PPS considers and recommends to the energy regulator to approve the third amendment of the combined license issued to Sasol Oil Pty Ltd and Total Energies Marketing South Africa Pty Ltd for the operation of petroleum facilities in Prospecting and Island View by removing all the crude oil infrastructure from the license conditions. The decision and reasons for decision document attached hereto as Annexure A, and the addendum number 3 to the license conditions attached as Annexure 1 of the decision and reasons for decision document. By show of hands, members, if you do support this recommendation. Thank you, Madam Maseti. Thank you, Madam Pumose, Mr. Sbanda, Advocate Sitole. I also support the recommendation. This then concludes item 5 and takes us to item 6, which is the Sasol Oil Pty Ltd and Prax South Africa Pty Ltd application for a combined license issued for the operation of its petroleum facilities in Prospecting and Island View, KwaZulu-Natal province. This flows from the submission that whose recommendation we've just supported. Over to you, Madam Ahmad.
Thank you, Chair. Like you said, this application is linked to the previous one, where in here Sasol Oil and Prax are jointly applying for a license to operate the crude oil infrastructure that Total no longer owns. The key issues for this application included the change in ownership, where we basically just confirmed the ownership status. We considered the administrative, technical, and financial abilities of the applicant, which were found to have been satisfactory. We also looked at the economic and competition impact, including compliance to the rules and regulations. I think, Chair, key to highlight here is that although there is a change in ownership of the assets, the mandated operator will remain unchanged as NATREV. And NATREV is and has been responsible for managing the operations at the prospecting sites, the Finland sites 1 and site 2 in Island View, including the operation of the industry-owned SPM, the loading facility on an interim basis. So NATREV, in essence, manages the operations of both the crude oil facilities and the refined fuels facilities as well on behalf of the parties. So in terms of the operational continuity, there is some level of certainty for continued operations without disruption. Maybe just to highlight as well that a tariff application is being considered by the tariffs department and will be brought before the regulator in due course, which will then also include provisions for land rehabilitation. In terms of the impact on existing similar infrastructure, we as well do not foresee any negative impact, noting as well that Prax is coming in as a minority shareholder within the ownership interest, And again, Chair, as the sector regulator, we found comfort in the decision and the approval of the Competition Tribunal, whose views as well were that the transaction is unlikely to substantially lessen or prevent competition in any market. And to address some of the public interest concerns, PRAX was required to conclude a historically disadvantaged person transaction post the major implementation date of not less than 25% ownership within its structures. And this is also in line with our transformation requirements in terms of the Petroleum and Liquid Fuels Charter, including the BBBE requirements. In addition to that, I think PRAX has also committed a significant amount of capital expenditure to support the NATREF operational requirements over a period of not less than 5 years from the transaction. Chair, the recommendations again here outlined in paragraph 14.1, and it's for the PPS to recommend to the energy regulator to approve the combined license for Sasol Oil and PRAX, the reasons for decision document, and the license conditions as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any questions, comments, or guidance to provide? I see no hands. May we then proceed to the recommendations, which states thus: it is recommended that the PPS considers and recommends to the energy regulator to approve 1, the combined license application by Sasol Oil Pty Ltd and PRAX South Africa Pty Ltd for the operation of petroleum facilities in Prospecting and Island View. 2, the decision and reasons for decision document attached here to as Annexure A. And lastly, the license conditions attached as Annexure 1 of the decision and reasons for decision document. By show of hands, members, if you do support this recommendation. Thank you, Madam Massetti. Thank you, Advocates Tole, Madam Pumos, and Mr. Sbanda. This then concludes item 6 and takes us to item 7, which is the Engen Petroleum Limited application for a license to construct a loading facility at Berth 5 in Island View in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal province. Over to you, Madam Mahamata.
Thank you, Chair. This application by Engen is for a license to construct a marine loading facilities, which consists of 2 marine loading arms and 6 auxiliary pipelines connecting to existing pipelines for the handling of diesel, petrol, and paraffin. Chair, I think key to highlight here is that NESA had previously issued an operation license for a loading facility at this Berth 5 jointly for BP, Shell, and Engen. And that loading facility had 3 loading arms, 1 for each party. However, the loading facility infrastructure was since removed upon request by the Transnet National Ports Authority after they declared that berth unsafe, and then they embarked on a refurbishment of the berth. But following completion, the license activity was never resumed. And so currently, there is no petroleum infrastructure at Berth 5. So in essence, this application seeks to reinstate the infrastructure on Berth 5 that was previously operational. The basis of the project and why now is mainly to alleviate berth congestions caused by increasing imports, and because the current berths that are currently handling petroleum product are no longer able to be further optimized. So in our analysis, we looked at historical studies and data. We also looked at forecast data read together with the TNPA port development plans, and we concluded that there is indeed a need for the proposed infrastructure. Our findings were that upon completion, this Berth 5 loading facility with its auxiliary lines will lessen the time spent berthing due to the increased design capacities. Chair, I think the key risk we found related to this project is mainly the tenure of the ongoing renewal of the lease agreements with TNPA. The commissioning date of this project falls within the same period that the Engen Island View leases with TNPA expires. And although there is a wayleave agreement for Engen to undertake the construction activities for this project, its tenure is linked to those expiring Island View leases. We have engaged Engen, and we are aware that through the Fuels Industry Association of South Africa, Engen has applied to the Minister of Transport for a Section 79 directive, which basically is a directive where the Minister of Transport can give to TNPA for national security purposes. But in the most recent communication received is that the minister will consider that application in June of 2025. So according to Engen, should it not be able to secure the renewal of the land leases, then this infrastructure will be taken over by the new successful terminal operator, which TNPA appoints, and then in which case then Engen expects to get a fair market value of this infrastructure from the new terminal operator. However, to support its overall operations, Engen is still proceeding with this project and other investments to optimize its operations. We have also tried to engage TNPA during the processing of this application to discuss these issues of the leases, the implications, and the ripple effect. However, we haven't been successful with the planned engagements, which did not materialize. Chair, with that, I would like to move to the recommendations, which is for the regulator to approve the construction license for Engen for the marine loading facilities, approve the decision and reasons for decision document attached, including the license conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Mahamata. If you may just also assist in ensuring that figure 2 becomes clearer, because those figures are very useful and helpful in terms of having a mental picture of what we're dealing with. Also, some of the members have also been to this site when we're conducting our site visits, which is also helpful. Just also want to stress that of late, I have managed to get in touch with the acting CE of TNPA, and that will be followed up in terms of ensuring that also in line with our MOU, we're able to cover all aspects that not only pertain to this application, but to other applications that are within our jurisdiction. You will appreciate the change of guard that has occurred at TNPA, especially on the executive side. I will leave it at that. Members, if you've got any questions, comments, or guidance you would like to provide to the team, may you please indicate by raising your hands. I don't see any. I will then proceed. Oh, here is Mr. Sbanda. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the team. I am happy to support the recommendation. Maybe just a couple of issues for me, because reading the application, it was a bit difficult to understand, perhaps because of the way that issues have been framed. So, for instance, when you talk of the facility or the infrastructure being reinstated, I'm not sure if it's a reinstatement really more than it is a replacement, because this is a new facility altogether. Yes, it is in the same space or area, but I don't think it's a reinstatement as such, but more of a replacement, and the ownership as well. Speaking of which, I also wanted to check in terms of the existing license. I saw that this needs to be revoked, but I think we need to be a bit firm on that, because this license has been lying idle for more than 10 years. Perhaps we just need to be a bit firmer in terms of timelines when we expect the revocation to happen. And in a situation where the parties don't initiate the revocation, then perhaps as the regulator, we need to then act on that. Other than that, I'm happy with the recommendation. Well, I wasn't also sure why the dates are confidential for the project. Maybe if I can be clarified on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Madam Mahamata, may you please respond? And the team to assist you. I'll start off with Mr. Untit.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Maybe Ms. Mahamata can assist me with the confidentiality part. But in terms of the first question and your comment about the figure 2, we will try and enhance that going to the energy regulator, then that submission to make it more clearer. But it's unfortunately the documents we've got and the scale. But I think we will do that and maybe upload it extra, a better copy. Then in terms of Mr. Sibanda's question, I do agree, sir. The terminology is maybe not appropriate, because as you correctly indicated, so we will also then make that change. To not use the term reinstating. I think that enhancement we will also do. In terms of the firm timelines and enforcing that, the complication has been the fact that there's been several transactions happening, including the sale of the refinery and Central Energy Fund doing that. So there is multiple meetings happening on all the berth facilities, also noting that Shell may be considering, as they publicly announced, disinvesting in some of these assets. So we will then get firm timelines in terms of that, and maybe also in preparation for the energy regulator meeting. By that meeting, have more clarity on that. But you are correct that NERSA can then also initiate in terms of the Act, can initiate such revocation, also then in consultation with the affected parties, that we don't leave that hanging. I hope I've covered the questions. Maybe just the timelines, Ms. Mahamata, or the confidentiality of the dates.
Thank you, Martin. So the proposed project schedule was kept confidential upon request by Engine, and we do have similar decisions where we kept these key dates as confidential. And so they, in a way, we don't have what's the English word? Ways to not approve it on the basis that there are previous decisions by NERSA on these very project schedule dates. However, in the implementation of the decision, we may request the applicant to provide dates that are standard and are not too detailed, that we can put on the license conditions. However, these ones, as stipulated herein, have to be kept confidential upon the decision that we've already taken. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, no, all right. I think then when it comes to the issues of dates, there could be, because we look at potential for financial and commercial harm that could be suffered, where the dates could be, those the competition can also take advantage of that and maybe frustrate the project in one way or another. So that has been looked at, but we do not if there's any justification to the counter, we'll have then to consider that. When it comes to the issues of the revocation, I think it would be important for members to note that for quite some time they've been this island view and preset strategy by TNPA, which in terms of implementation and decisiveness on some of the issues, because of how things are complicated, has not really like got rolled out in the manner that was envisaged. That you're talking of a period even before 2017 here, when the strategy was being looked at, and hence you have these leases. Some of them they were running on a month-to-month. Then there were some that were then put to 3 months lease, and then this whole issue of the leases is linked to that the implementation of that strategy, which is posing challenges, and hence the decisiveness. But rest assured, Mr. Sibanda, the team will look at this issue of the revocation with more intense now, as also noting that we are also back on track, hopefully, with regards to engaging TNPA. Yeah, I will leave it at that. I don't know if we covered Mr. Sibanda. Are you good, Mr. Sibanda? Good to go? I take it that is covered, and then I will then proceed, members, to the recommendation. Say here, the engine application for a license to construct a marine loading facility at Bed 5 in Island View, Durban, KwaZulu-Natal Province, has met the minimum requirements, and then it is recommended then that the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee considers and approves the application lodged by Engen for a license to construct the following facilities: a marine loading facility with 2 loading arms of 400 millimeter diameter and on Bed 5 within the port of Durban, and 6 auxiliary pipelines connecting to Engen tie-in on the existing overhead piping on the pipe rack at Bed 6, the Engen tie-in point at the marine loading arms and the piping manifold, and the Engen tie-ins from the jumper assembly to piping, respectively. Also approve the decision and reasons for decision document attached here to as Annexure 1, and the license and associated license conditions attached here to as Annexure A. By show of hands, members, if you do support the recommendation. Thank you, Madam Maseti, Madam Pungose, Advocate Tole, not sure, Mr. Sibanda. Okay, we'll proceed with the majority of the members.
Sorry, Chair. I'm struggling with my laptop. I might have to change gadgets, but I'm happy to approve. Yeah, thanks. Sorry about that.
Noted, sir. Thanks. We'll then proceed on that basis. You've got your approval, Madam Mahamad, on this item. Now we'll then move to item 8, which deals with the publication of the tariffs set or approved by the National Energy Regulator of South Africa for petroleum pipeline storage and loading facilities, the so-called tariff booklet, as of 31st March 2025.
The person?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we not supposed to consider this as a governance matter as decided earlier on, so that you close the meeting and then we go to the governance matters? Thank you.
Oh, okay, ma'am. The governance matter will be the
item 11.
the item 11, which is the annual report on the program for the division. So this one was considered to be fit for discussion in an open meeting. May then proceed on that basis. Thank you, Madam. If you may just take us through EM and your team.
Yes, thanks, Chair. As indicated, as we approve the tariff, different tariffs for different facilities, we update the booklet annually and have a publication of all the updated tariffs. Ms. Msomi will assist with the introduction of the submission. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members, management, and the members of the public. The purpose of this submission is to request the PPS members to note and approve the publishing of the updated tariff booklet on the NERSA website. In the 2024-25 financial year, NERSA considered 30 tariff applications. The tariff provided in the 2024-25 financial year are provided in paragraph 5.1 and highlighted in yellow in Annexure A. At the PPS meeting held on 10 April 2024, members requested the Petroleum Pipelines Regulations team to provide information on the compliance enforcement actions taken against licenses without tariffs. Table 1 on page 7 outlines compliance enforcement measures implemented by NERSA and progress made to ensure compliance. Table 1 and Table 2 of page 7 and 8 provide a list of facilities with no tariffs, and compliance will be enforced as per the Petroleum Pipelines Regulation Compliance Framework. It is therefore recommended that the PPS members note and approve the publication of Annexure A on the NERSA website. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Msomi. We've got here the recommendation being under 14.1, which reads thus: it is recommended that the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee notes the updated tariff booklet attached here to as Annexure A. Members, if you've got any questions, comments, guidance to provide, by show of hands, please. I don't see any hands. Members, by show of hands, if you do support the recommendation as read out. Thank you, Advocates Chole, Mr. Sbanda, Madam Aseti, and Madam Pungos. This then concludes item 8 and takes us to item 9, which is a decision and reasons for decision on the tariff application by BP Southern Africa and Strategic Fair Fund Association for their facility in Montangui Gardens in Cape Town. Over to you, Mr. Kaba.
Chair, the next two items will be presented by Mr. Kolile Mahlangu. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Mahlangu.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning. On 24 October 2024, the applicant submitted a tariff application for the Montec facility. The tariff application is for the period 1 January 2025 to 31 December 2026. The tariff application was deemed adequate for processing on 31 October 2024 following submission of complete information by the applicants. The analysis of the tariff application is provided on pages 8 to 13 of the PPS cover submission. The difference or differences in the allowable revenue is mainly due to the difference in the regulatory asset-based values calculated by both parties, mainly due to the use of the different consumer price index values when trending the assets. Another difference is also due to the net working capital, mainly due to the different trade receivables determined by both parties. It is therefore recommended that the PPS approves the tariffs applied for by the applicants for the Montec storage facility and approve the decision and reasons for decision document attached here to as Annex A. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mahlangu. Any comments, questions, guidance, members, by show of hands, please? I see Madam Pungose. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm happy to support the report, and thanks, Mr. Mahlangu, for the presentation. I think what I wanted to clarify from the team is on page 3 of 39, what was the reason for on 4.4? What was the reason for the revocation? And later yet another revocation of the license, and yet another application has been lodged. I think I could have missed that in the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Pungose. Seeing that there are no other hands, may you please respond, Mr. Mahlangu, with the assistance of your team?
May I request Mr. Untit to come on the revocation part? Thank you.
Chair, if I understood the question correct, it relates to the need for that revocation. I think in paragraph 4.2, it's indicated that the transaction buying by the Strategic Fuel Fund is safe into that assets necessitated the revocation and the reapplication. I'm not sure if I misunderstood the question, Madam.
Yeah, in essence, the revocation was the site used to belong to BPSA, and there was an operation license issued to BPSA, and now with the SFF buying into that, it had then to be revoked. So it clearly indicates the new owners and operators of that pipeline being jointly owned by BPSA and SFF, unlike some of the sites that are like unincorporated JVs, where the ownership still is belonging to the separate companies. They are just operating together on an arrangement. This one is a change of ownership and a change of operation licensee names. Madam Pose is indicating that she is covered. Thanks for that, ma'am. We'll then move to the recommendation. It is recommended that the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee 1 approves tariffs of 19.3 cents per litre for the 2025 financial year and 19.76 cents per litre for the 2026 financial year, as applied for by the applicants for their petroleum storage facility in Montague Gardens, Cape Town. And 2, approve the decision and reasons for decision document attached here to as Annexure A. By show of hands, members, if you do support the recommendation. Thank you, Madam Pungose, Advocate Stole, Madam Maseti, Mr. Sbanda. I also support the recommendation. This then concludes item 9 and takes us straight to item 10, which pertains to a decision and reasons for decision on the tariff application by BP Southern Africa and Sasol Oil for the Pretoria facility. There is an updated submission there. If you can just take us through Again, Mr. Mahlang.
Thank you, Chair. On 24 October 2024, the applicant submitted the tariff application for the wet close storage facility. The tariff application covers the period from 1 January 2025 to 31 December 2026. The tariff application was deemed adequate for processing on 31 October 2024, following submission of complete information by the applicants. The analysis of the tariff application is provided on pages 7 to 11 of the PPS cover submission. The differences noted in allowable revenue is mainly due to the difference in the regulatory asset-based values calculated by both parties as a result of the use of the different CPI values when trending the assets. And another difference is due to the net working capital values, mainly due to the different trade receivables determined by both parties. It is therefore recommended that the PPS approves the tariffs applied for by the applicants for the wet close storage facility and approves the decision and reason for decision document attached here to as Annexure A. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahlang. Any questions, comments, or guidance from members by show of hands, please? I don't see any hands. I'll just then like to read out the recommendation.
Sorry,
But
Chair.
first, I see now there's a hand from Mr. Sbanda. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, I have a serious problem with this application. Okay. Sorry, yeah, look, I mean, I just have a serious problem with this application, Chair. So you have a licensee who doesn't apply for a tariff for a period of, 8 years? And all of a sudden, the tariff increases by more than 100%. I'm not sure, Chair, that's correct to start off with. But I just have a problem with that. Secondly, if you look at the growth projections, the volume projections, so these are forecasted to increase by, actually that's confidential. But if you look at the previous years, the actuals, they've been increasing by a much higher percentage than what's being projected. I don't understand why you would not take into account historical performance or the actuals when doing your projections. But there's no reason for me to believe that the volume projections will grow at the rate of GDP, because they have not been, there has never been a correlation with GDP in the past. So why all of a sudden there should be a correlation with GDP going forward? And then thirdly, this facility is not even efficient compared to peer facilities. So I just have a serious problem, Chair, with this application. I'm not really happy with how the applicant has dealt with this. It can't be correct that you don't apply for a tariff for 8 years and then all of a sudden you want to come in and there's a steep increase, there's a jump of more than 100%, and it's okay for your customers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Spanda. Madam Chua and the team, may you please respond?
Okay, Ms. Bogo, you can come
I've
in.
got Madam Bogo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Starting with the first question by Mr. Sibanda. What we have noted, sir, is that given that this facility is predominantly used by the applicants or the owners, and there is actually no third parties, like in the past, they have not been applying for tariffs on an annual basis, even for multi-year tariffs that would be applicable for each year or longer multi-year tariffs. But then following the instruction by this committee to at least after 5 years to then encourage or enforce that licensees apply for new tariffs. This was one of the affected facilities, so we enforced reapplication. And when it comes to now the more than 100% increase in tariffs, this is also due to the manner in which the tariffs were determined in 2017. At that point, we had a methodology that had standard costing options in place. So if you look at the tariffs that we approved then, they were not based on the actual figures, but those standard costing figures. So this is why we see such huge increases in tariffs. But then in this case, we are using the actual regulatory asset base OPEX and volumes for each for the facility. That is why there is such a huge increase, and we are also raising this concern in the submission we put before PPS. And then coming to the volume projections, yes, we have also noted the fact that the projected increase is very conservative. And as a team, we are working on mechanisms to come up with our own methodology or method of determining what would be the accurate or acceptable volume increase for NESA. Otherwise, at this point, we actually do not have any mechanism in place that we can implement. Otherwise, we do share the concern, and we have raised it in this submission. And yeah, you also indicated that the facility is not efficient. And what we will do in the upcoming determinations is to ensure that there are no clawbacks allowed if those target volumes are not achieved. So the only mechanism we have in place is to set volume targets for this facility to facilitate or encourage efficient operation thereof. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Mrs. Banda. Good. Mr. Sibanda, what follow up?
Chair, I'm not entirely answered because now I'm not too sure then what is the implication of this tariff or us approving this tariff if it is for in-house purposes, if I may put it that way. What are the implications? Why are we doing what we're doing, basically? Maybe that's the question that I should be asking. Why are we doing what we are doing in this instance? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I also submit the Maseti.
Thank you, Chairperson. If you look at the chart, I also asked the same question as to what is our role here? What is the economic problem, the economic concern that we seek to address by then intervening in terms of approving a tariff? Are we just doing it as a tick box exercise without applying our minds to it? And that is very important. Otherwise, we can't take a decision when we can't provide a sound economic reasoning
of this technical, economic regulation aspect. So if we don't have a sound economic reasoning, then I don't think that we should approve this tariff. The fact that a tariff gets increased by 100%, that on its own shows irrationality. It violates the whole principle of the existence of the regulator, because no regulator around the world will then say, without providing the relevant economic reasons, and say that they can approve a tariff increase of 100%. Then we need to be very clear in our reasons and our documents as to why in the first place are we concerned about this tariff? What is our economic role here? What is the economic problem that requires us to exercise some measure of control over this tariff? And if we can't state that, then it becomes a problem, because then it will be an irrational decision to then allow such an excessive increase of 100% and say that we're doing it because we just have to do it. I don't think that will be something that we want to be associated with as an economic regulator. That's just my input, Chairperson. And part of what I've just said and clarified is on the chart as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members. I would then suggest something from my side. If you would support, I just would like to get from you. There is a period of 2017 to 2025. I mean, if we get to where we are now, looking at roughly the 8 years. Now, the increase combined with the change in the methodology used in terms of considering real values instead of the actual values in terms of RAB instead of the notional ones. That then could provide the justification. And that the issue also, when you're saying why regulate, Mrs. Banda, there is always that probability or possibility that there could be a third party requesting the use of the facility. Secondly, the industry also is known to have product swaps where one player will supply the product in one area and then they swap the product, their actual product are supplied by the other party in a different area. Those product swaps, it can be seen sometimes as an equivalent of the use of that facility by a third party. Hence the need to have these kind of tariffs just to guide that process so that it doesn't happen outside of proper regulation. But I remain of the view that the team should go back to enhance the justification around the volumes, engage with the licensee, and perhaps if need be, they can get that approval via round robin. If members you support that, you may raise your hands. Then we send it back for them to work, especially on these issues, and then send it back via round robin for approval. What, Madam Maseti? Yes.
Chairperson, I do support that we send it back. I'm just not sure whether the reason it will be considered by way of a round robin is because of maybe the timelines that maybe we are pressed with. Otherwise, an issue where we have members that raise, substantive concerns on the matter, would it not be better that it be discussed in a meeting as opposed to a round robin, just as a principal chairperson, unless then we are pressed with time, and also with that round robin, if certain issues have not been addressed, it might also be difficult to get the majority support. I'm just raising those things, Chairperson, so that you can take that into consideration.
Yes, ma'am, I'm taking that into consideration with regard to the timelines. If you look at table 4, you'll see that in fact the statutory period actually expires by the end of this month, and hence then the need to circulate it via round robin, if not having a special meeting. And looking at the kind of month that we have with regard to the holidays and all of that, it's very congested if one looks at the working days. Hence, to say that let's take it back and get approval via round robin or upon enhancement of that section. I'm seeing show of hands, say sharp members who are good with that. Just indicate by show of hands, members, so you can just take a clear-cut decision in this regard. Thank you, Advocate Stole. Thank you, Madam Pungose. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Thank you, Madam Maseti. This then concludes item 10 in terms of taking this submission back for enhancement by the team, and then circulation for requesting approval via round robin. Thank you. This then, as I said, concludes item 10, and it is actually the last of the items to be discussed in the open meeting. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, members, for all the questions, the comments, the guidance you are providing to the team, being decisive on all these matters, as well as also management and staff who have done the preparation of all the documents and also provided the responses as required during the meeting. And I take it that you will also action whatever that has come out of this meeting as action items excellently. I would like also to take this time to thank the members of the public who are following us through the various live streaming platforms. This on its own ensures that we try our level best to be as competent and as efficient and as capacitated as possible.